Dow Jones futures up, NASDAQ futures up, Dow Jones beating NASDAQ for now, and S&P futures up still more, 0.2%. Are we going to see another record today? We shall see. We are definitely going to see some data right now. We're coming out with both the GDP report for the third quarter as well as the personal consumption index and all of the sub-indexes that are coming out. So we are getting those numbers right now. Jobless claims did rise by the most since the storms to a 5-week high. Weekly jobless claims rose 20,000 to 245,000. That's actually more than the estimate of 233,000. And you can see 10-year yields not reacting too strongly. We are also getting, I believe, some inflation data from certainly Canada, actually breaking right now, that it's increasing more than expected. But it is interesting to see that the jobless claims did rise more than expected. And I have to wonder how much that has to do with the fact that this is still messy or whether this is actually clean.
Yeah, no, those are jobless claims, of course, for the last week. On the personal consumption numbers, the GDP numbers, and the core PCE numbers, that's for the third quarter, but it's third read. But interestingly, they've all softened just slightly. We were at 3.3% on GDP annualized growth, and we're now down to 3.2. Personal consumption from 2.3 down to 2.2. And core PCU from 1.4 to 1.3. As I say, it's a third read. It's for a quarter that's long past now, third quarter. But it is slightly softening. So let's bring back in Michael Gapen now, Barclays. So, Michael, you know how to read these numbers. Tell us what we should care about in these numbers and what we shouldn't.
So in the GDP data, I think even though it was revised down a tenth, I think it's still likely to show you that personal consumption was quite solid in the quarter, and we also had another strong quarter of business investment. So I think you're seeing a couple things here, and one of them, as you mentioned in the previous segment, very strong global growth, a pickup in business spending. So this is in part good news domestically, but a lot of good news externally, and the economy has a pretty solid pace of momentum heading into the fourth quarter.